Welcome to Breakthrough Divorce Coaching. I'm your host, Karen Covey, and this is a very special series of the Off the Fence podcast where you get a front row seat to live coaching sessions with real people facing real challenges in divorce. There's no scripts, no theory, just raw, powerful conversations that lead to real breakthroughs, because one breakthrough can change everything. If you've ever wondered what divorce coaching looks like behind the scenes, this is your chance to find out. So without any further ado, let's go witness a breakthrough. Hello, I am so happy to be here. Roxanne, can you tell me a little bit about your situation and how can I help you?
Okay. Well, I have been married for 33 years, have two adult children with my current husband, and I just can't do this anymore. Um, it just is one of those things where the marriage has probably been, for lack of a better word, dead for a while. And it just has kind of ramped up because I feel that he is kind of financially threatening me. He kind of always has. I want the money to go to the kids. I don't want the money to go to you. If you divorce me, I will set up a trust. And, we do have a trust that we created. I don't know if those are really penetratable, if that's the right word. It probably isn't. I don't know how that works, but I just felt like that was kind of the final straw of over time listening to that. And then what do they say? If somebody is telling you something, you need to listen. So that's where I decided to start researching and getting myself educated. And that's how I came across you. But I also did find an attorney and I did file so that I could basically stop him from doing anything like that.
Okay, is it okay if I ask you a few questions?
Absolutely.
So you have already filed for divorce, right?
Correct.
Does your husband know? Has he been served or does he know that the filing exists?
He knows that the filing exists, but he should be served here shortly, and we still live together, so I'm a little anxious about that. It is one of those things where he just denies what's going to happen. Now, it's not all his fault. Clearly, we have two people in a marriage, but I have unfortunately talked about this a lot and didn't do anything about it. But I have been telling him consistently, I don't want to try again. It's time. And so he hasn't even found an attorney yet. So a lot of denial.
Okay. That's totally fine. I'm a big dog lover, so the
Okay.
fact that your dog barks is perfectly acceptable. But let me ask you this. Is it okay if I ask you a few questions about
Oh,
this?
absolutely.
Okay, so you still live together and he knows that he's going to be served. It sounds like he's not on board with this.
No, and it's not that he's not on board. He considers the money that he made in the marriage his money, and he doesn't want to let go of the money.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So did you guys have a prenup?
No.
And when you talked to your attorney, so the attorney is actively representing you. They're not, you didn't just hire them to do some paperwork, right?
Correct. Well, I went in for my 30-minute consult that went on for an hour, and I really didn't commit at that moment. But after I thought about it, and then he threatened it one more time, I
Yeah.
just went ahead and said, you know, called the office, and she said, I'll send you an agreement and, pay the retainer. So basically, so that he couldn't do anything nefarious.
What is the biggest problem that you have right now where you're at that I can help you with? What's keeping you up at night?
Well, I do think that the education part, I'm been pretty immersed in, gray divorce, any kind of divorce, just trying to learn about it. I just it just doesn't seem like there's much information about what's going to happen next. I mean, I have an attorney. They sent over the financial affidavit paperwork, which is extensive
Yeah.
and
Yeah. It's like
intimidating.
War and Peace.
Yeah, yeah. And so I just don't feel like I really understand what is the next step. I know that they're going to serve him the pay, he'll get a certified letter saying
Okay.
that I am suing him for divorce.
Okay.
So I don't really know the next steps. I don't really understand it, and I'm a little intimidated about. They say, well, if you email your attorney, at 350 an hour, you're gonna pay all this money, and yeah, at the heart of everything, I'm a tightwad.
I can totally understand that. And of course, going through a divorce, it's expensive no matter how you slice or dice it. So being mindful of costs is always a good thing. Um, are both of you right now retired?
Yes,
Okay. And so the if you, it sounds like you want to know what your next steps are from where you are now, and finances are an issue, but is there something else? Is there anything else that's more important than finances, or you're really concerned with that right now?
I am basically concerned with the finances. I have, of course, my emotions go up and down. I feel sad about this, but I feel committed to taking care of myself at this stage of my life. So I, okay, so I'm sad. I'm sad that he doesn't really want the divorce, and yet we don't work on our marriage. But I do have, resources, and I want to move forward.
Okay.
But
So
finances, yeah.
do you know do you have access to all the financial information? Do you know what you have, what he has, everything? Even if he thinks it's his, do you know what everything is?
Pretty much. We're both second marriages. I've always had my own separate, we've had our separate bills, our separate accounts. We're on each other's accounts, but
Okay.
we still have, like I pay this bill, he pays that bill. And I'm very, you know, kind of retentive about all that. Initially, he did not disclose what money he had. And I had all the passwords, but he took them. But of course, and passwords do change. So I basically do know what
Okay.
I basically do know.
Okay, so it sounds like the problem that you're trying to solve is you've got this mountain of paperwork that you're supposed to put together for a financial affidavit, which if anyone listening hasn't done this, it's like worse than taxes, way worse than taxes.
Yeah.
So you've got to put that together. You're concerned about that, and you're concerned about moving forward financially. Can he take the money that's in his trust and somehow isolate it so you don't get your piece? Is that
Yeah.
the main concern?
Well, when I first really very calmly said we were going to get divorced, he took it pretty well, but then the next day he pretty much exploded, and I said, "Did you really take out the trust?" And he said, "No."
Okay.
So he says that he did not do that.
So he doesn't have a trust right now?
No, we do have a trust that we created, but it's the family trust. What he was implying was he has two older daughters from a previous marriage, and then we
Mhm.
have two children together. He was going to create a trust for each one of the kids, so that I couldn't get that money. But he said, well, I didn't really do it, but it was
And
enough to say, okay, I'm done. I'm done.
how does that make you feel when you listen to him say something like that? What happens to you?
To be to The honesty is he said this a lot over the years. So I'm a little numb to it, but this
Mhm.
time I'm like, I need to pay attention. I don't want to. I mean, our marriage has been over for a while. So I don't I know what the precipitating event was. He's threatening my financial future.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not that I mean, I have my own pension, Social Security. I mean, I'm not not destitute, but listening over all these years that it's his money, he made it, he gets to keep it. And I was like, well, okay. And then I just, it's just, I don't know. I don't, sometimes you just don't know why, right?
Yeah.
You just don't know
Yeah.
like, why now? Um, it's time.
And that's, that's one thing to keep in mind. Asking yourself why is probably the worst question you could ask yourself, because all it's going to do is keep you spinning in your head, because there may not be an answer. We
Yeah,
all, human beings, do stuff we don't understand our own motivation to say why now. It's just that something inside of you said now it's time.
yeah,
So instead of spending energy, spinning about why,
right.
you're going to be better served to focus that energy on what's next. Does
Yeah,
that make sense?
yes. And that's what I've been
So
trying to do.
yeah, so your next steps have to do with finances. And it's going to be important. I mean, first of all, the one thing you have to understand, people say a lot, they talk trash in a divorce all the time. They're going to, because here's what's happening is your husband is afraid. He wouldn't like me saying that, but he doesn't want this divorce. He doesn't want to lose you. Whether or not that's because of you or because he doesn't want to lose the status quo and the comfort and security of, I like the way things are. I mean, you're a lovely person. I would, I'm sure he doesn't want to lose you, but it might not be about you, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. He wants the status quo because his life is very comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to have to change, and he doesn't want to have to give that up. So the challenge is that you, like, he can do all the things he threatened, and you don't know whether the threats are empty or whether there's some teeth behind them. And you don't want to be stuck in a position where it's too late to make that decision. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, what's going to be the most important thing for you to do right now is keep on top of your finances. Okay. If there's joint accounts, are there just separate accounts that you both can see, or is there a joint account as well?
No, we've always been separate. Again, we're on each other's accounts, but we've always minded our own business. If,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't ask him for money. He doesn't ask me for money. So I pay my bills, he pays his bills, uh,
Okay.
kind of thing.
So, what you're going to want to know out of curiosity's sake is whether you still have access to data, right? Because it's that lack of access to financial information that causes the costs of your divorce to start to spiral, because now you can't just go log into somewhere and see what's in the account. Your lawyer has to ask him to produce information. So your lawyer asks his lawyer, asks him, and then it goes in this giant game of telephone. And that's what becomes so expensive in a divorce. So what it would be wise for you to communicate to him is that he can do this the easy way or he can do it the hard way. And if he chooses to try to hide things from you, if he chooses to like do financial shenanigans and try to, separate money and hide money from you and not make it part of the divorce, it's going to take longer and it's going to cost more. And in the end, both of you are going to lose, including him. So
Mhm.
it's really in his best interest if he doesn't want to lose half of what, and I'm using air quotes here, he earned, because everything you both earned from the date of the marriage till the date of the divorce is all marital. But I know that's not how he feels. But if he doesn't want to lose a substantial chunk of that to attorney's fees, then it makes more sense for him to be honest about what he has and come clean with the information. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So at some point, you're going to need to have a conversation with him. Why? I'm curious. Why did your attorney choose to have him served instead of just sending him a letter?
Well, I mean, see, and again, that's part of my own ignorance. I think, isn't that just how you have to, a certified letter comes to the house? Now, the paralegal did email me and she said, I will let you know, I guess, when it's filed, so that I would know that the letter is going to be coming, right, to the
Okay.
house.
Yeah.
So he did ask me to let him know when that's happening, but again, from listening to all these podcasts, I don't know how long that's going to take. So I don't know if I should reapproach him and say, hey, the letter is coming. I'm not sure when.
Okay, so here's the thing. Nobody likes to be surprised. I mean, at least not when it's something they don't want to have happen, right? Like a birthday present, good surprise. A divorce, not a good surprise.
Right.
So it would be in your best interest, since it's already in the works, giving him a heads up can't be a bad thing. It's better
Okay.
than him getting shocked by it, right?
Yeah.
The challenge that I have, and part of the reason why I do what I do, and it makes me so crazy, is that there are different ways to start a divorce. Your lawyer didn't necessarily have to serve him right out of the box, but that's water under the bridge right now. So it's coming. So give him a heads up and let him know. And let him know that you'd like to do this as amicably as you could, right? Um, and it's his choice whether he chooses to follow suit or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have the amicable divorce book, which I've read, and he looked at it and he said there is no such thing as an amicable divorce, but also that was at the beginning of all of this, so I think he has settled down. So yeah, you're right. I need to just sit down and say, look, I don't know exactly when this is going to show up, but it will be in the form of a certified letter that you have to sign for.
Right.
Uh,
And what that could do, here's the thing. He can choose to not sign, which means he doesn't get it, which means now at that stage, you're gonna have to send the sheriff out or a process server to have him served. But the conversation that would be the most helpful for the two of you, and you may have to go in bits, he may not be able to hear it all at once, right? And to say to him, look, this is happening. If you don't, and see if he doesn't sign for it, and you can say, look, do you understand that we have a pot of money? Everything from the minute we got married until now is all in one pot. And that's going to be diminished by what you pay for attorney's fees, what I pay for attorney's fees, how long this takes, how much it costs, all comes from our money. The challenge that you have in facing a great divorce is that there's no more earned income coming in, right? So the more your divorce costs you, the worse your retirement is going to be. Is that really what you want? And when he understands that, he's still not going to be excited about this is happening. But once he understands and that all of this is costing the two of you money, then he may be more inclined to see things, to be amicable, to do things without a big fight. Does that make sense?
mhm.
So the other thing is the whole trust thing. Can he take money from wherever he's got his money and zip it into a trust and lock it up? Um, that's something to ask your attorney about because it's a legal thing. However, in general, like you're going to put money in a trust, and just because he ties it up, let's say he's successful, let's say he locks up money in a trust, which isn't always as easy as he thinks it is, right? But let's say he takes, I'm going to make up a number, $100,000, and he locks it up and he said, this is for the kids and you can't have it. You can't touch it. Okay, great. Well, you look at your marital pie and that 100,000 just goes on his side of the balance sheet. So unless he's locking up everything, which he can't do because you've got a piece of it. And by the way, do you own your own home?
Yes.
Okay, so there's money in the house. There, like it would be, he's talking out of anger and emotion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, could you have a conversation with him that said, look, do it the easy way or we can do it the hard way. If we work together, we have a chance of keeping a decent retirement for both of us and having money left over when we die for the kids. But if we fight and, just waste it all on lawyers, everybody's going to struggle moving forward. Do you think he'd listen to that?
I mean, I have calmly interjected that over the past, I haven't approached it the last couple of weeks, but when well, actually last week he said, "Do you want to give this one more try?" And I said, "No, I do not." So I've been very calm, very clear. So he can chew on it for, I guess he's been chewing on it, but he's in strong denial. And he's, I mean, I don't know if this is relevant, but he's also an alcoholic. So, you just go,
That's very
"Mhm,
relevant.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. So because he's an alcoholic or he's got addiction issues, his emotions are going to be all over the board. And that's what you've got to be careful of, right? So you want to make sure that he doesn't take money and do something stupid with it or squirrel it away in a trust. Here's the deal. If you can trace the money, if you can see that there was 100,000 in a bank account yesterday and today it's gone, now in the divorce process, you can start to say, look, that was there, that's marital, either put it back or it just goes on your side of the balance sheet because I'm not losing that money. That was our money, right? So that's going to be the hardest, thing for him to chew on and to understand. But for you, knowledge is power. You need the financial information. If you still have access to his bank accounts and whatever retirement accounts or whatever you have access to, you would be wise to download at least a year, maybe 2 or 3 years worth of statements, but I would say at least a year you should be good so that you have the information. Because what's going to jack up the cost of your divorce is if he all of a sudden says, no, I'm not doing that. And he changes the password and doesn't produce it. And now you're chasing him. You don't want to chase. If you've got access to the information, it's not like you're hiding it from him. And he should have access to your
mhm,
stuff too, as
mhm,
well, right? So that just makes it easier for both of you. But in terms of the alcoholism, that plays a role, right? And he's going to go through giant mood swings, and you've just got to be able to hit him in a good moment and when he's reasonable, like you don't want to have conversations with him, obviously, in the evening after he's been drinking. You've got to catch him in his good times, and you probably know what those are right now, right? So it's about securing as much of your own financial information as you can. So your next step, because you asked me about next steps, your next steps are to put that financial affidavit together. Um, as comprehensively as you can for both you and him. And notice, where do you have a hole? Like, is there a piece of information that you're missing? And then you're going to make a list of all the data that you don't have and see if you can backfill that. Does that make sense?
mhm.
And then what you do have, you're going to take all of that, you're going to fill it out and give it to your attorney so that your attorney can then send it if he ever gets an attorney or what have you. So that because you can't start to divide money until you know it's there. So that's the purpose of the financial affidavit is to have the big picture of what do you got? What's coming in, what's going out, what do you own and what do you owe, right? So that's what you want to is your next step is really all centered around data gathering. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And make sure now if he starts doing dumb things, like maybe he's got a bad moment, maybe he's whatever, um, having that year's worth of information is going to give you the historical data that you need when you say, oh, all of a sudden our expenses went up by $5,000 a month. He's spending $5,000 a month more on groceries. Well, what is that? What is that really? Because it ain't groceries, you know? So you want to make sure that like having that data is going to help you. You also want to be careful um, continuing to live with him because the next step after he gets out of denial, he's going to anger. That's the next step, and you have to be safe. So, are you at least sleeping in separate bedrooms?
Oh yeah, yeah, for years, and I I know how to shoot.
Okay, then.
I mean, I carry. I mean, I
Okay.
don't know if you can put that on the podcast. It's just, it's, we all, like my son still lives with us. He's 30, just got married, but they're trying to buy a house. So no, I am very cognizant of that, and, take my purse to bed and stuff like that. He had that initial blow up, and he seems like he's kind of, calmed down a little bit. But yeah, I think once those papers come through, that may be a different story. But I will definitely sit down and talk to him and let him, so he doesn't feel so, like, broadsided, blindsided by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your next step forward, I mean, let me stop here for a second. Does he carry too?
Hmm.
Okay, because here's the deal. Two people in a duel shooting at each other, you're both dead. This is a bad idea, and mixing alcohol and guns doesn't go well.
Yeah. He, I think the reason my son doesn't stay here all the time. Of course, he has a wife. She only lives like 6 minutes away. I think that's a big reason why my son pretty much, he never says when he's going to stay with his wife and when he's going to stay here. And so my husband definitely respects him, if you will. And my
Hmm.
son is definitely, I mean, he's like an NRA instructor. So you
Okay.
would not want to mess with him. Um, and s- and God love him. Our son just really thinks that, we shouldn't get divorced. We should go talk to a counselor, and I've agreed to go, but it would be for closure for him. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and he knows that. So I think there is a little bit of a safety mechanism there, and I am hyper aware of moods. Um, yeah,
Yeah, let's be clear. Your safety, your personal safety is always number one, and accidents happen.
yeah,
Um, he may not intend to shoot, but if he's drunk, you never know. It would be wise to get all of the guns and the ammo out of the house.
yeah. I have talked to my son about that. Actually, I did go into his room and I couldn't find the gun, so yeah. So I will definitely drill down on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just that, like, that's
Yeah,
the money
that's
is
it.
one thing, but if you're
Yeah,
dead, you don't care about the
yeah,
money.
yeah,
So you need to, your personal safety is paramount. I would do things like put a lock on the bedroom door just to be safe. I would make sure those guns are out of the house. And if you feel threatened, you call 911 and the police will come, and all they have to hear is divorce, guns, alcohol, and they will take him out of the house, at least for a cooling down period, right? But then if he comes back in, that makes it worse. So you just have to be very strategic about how you do this. The smartest thing, get all the guns out of the house, then nobody's shooting anybody. I'm glad your son knows what's going on. And in the meantime, you're going to want to put together all this paperwork as much as you can, because with him, with being the human you have described, he is going to drag his feet. He is not going to be like, okay, let's get this over. Just move on, clean break. That is not going to be him. It's going to be an excuse, an excuse, an excuse. So the more you can do, if you have all the financial information and you're confident that you do and you give it to the lawyers, now you're not waiting on him. You have taken the power and control into your hands, and so that you can keep this process moving forward, which is ultimately going to be best for both of you, because you don't want to be living in the same house and having this drag on forever. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah. And I almost completely filled out the affidavits. I just got intimidated by the second column, which talks about anticipated costs. Like, yeah, what does that mean? So that's why I was just on the previous call with the CDFA. So I'm trying to get the financial picture clarified. And yeah, so I know that I'll be doing the heavy lifting, if you will, which is
Yeah.
unfortunately the nature of the marriage. I just don't want it, but I'll stay on top of it. Because the another question that I had, and this probably is not in sequence, the the attorney did, like, off the cuff mention, if you do a dissolution and you dissolve the marriage, you can only use one attorney. Does, or I mean, what is the difference between a divorce and a dissolution?
Usually nothing.
Nothing. Still
But there
dividing
may
assets.
be in your state, there may be some, you might have misinterpreted the words, but usually in states, there's some sort of mechanism, a unified joint dissolution, or they call it different things, but the idea is maybe if both of you are going in and you're going to do this jointly together by agreement, then maybe that's what he's referring to. I'm not 100% sure, but number one, you want to make sure you understand it so you know what your choices are. Because if you don't know you have a choice, you can't make one.
Right, if I could appeal to his, you know, he likes his money, like you said, you know, the more we spend fighting on about this, but if we did a dissolution, um, would that be, if he would agree to it, is that, what's the difference between that and the divorce?
The divorce, there shouldn't be. In Illinois, which is where I practice law, um, there is no difference. They are exactly the same thing. A dissolution of marriage, divorce, it's the same thing. Where you're at, it might have a different meaning. That's what I was saying. It may be that what your attorney is referring to is an agreed upon process where you only use one lawyer and things are streamlined. You might be able to do that because your children are grown and gone. You don't have young children. That's usually a requirement. But whether or not you can do that if you own property together, like a house, I'm not positive. That's a question
Okay,
for your
okay.
lawyer. But the projected or anticipated costs on that financial affidavit, you're not going to have all your answers right now. All you can do is anticipate the best that you can. You don't know where you're going to be living or where he's going to be living. You just know it's not going to be in the same house together,
Yeah.
you know? So all you can do is your best to estimate, oh, this would be my rental or mortgage or whatever, whatever you're thinking of, and start making those projected costs. But it's good to have a CDFA look at your numbers. That's going to be helpful. Whether you need other professionals, whether he needs a professional, whether he needs his own attorney, depends on him. You know, he could take all the paperwork that your attorney does to an attorney for himself, just have the attorney review it and say, yeah, this looks good, or no, this is a problem, or change that, or fix this. Or he could have a lawyer for full on representation, and then you're off to the races, right? It just depends on what he's going to do. But if you try to get too far ahead of yourself, you're going to be overwhelmed. I know you've done a
Okay.
lot already. So
Yeah.
it's right now, it's focusing on your next steps. Number one, have a conversation with him. Let him know what's coming. Number two, have a conversation with your son about the guns and getting him out of the house, you know? And number three, getting all that financial information put together. And it's not just the financial affidavit, but having the documentation to back it up. For example, a year's worth of bank statements, all organized in chronological order behind the financial affidavit, all the retirement account statements, the whatever it is that you have, you've got the backup documents so that the financial CDFA or the lawyer or whoever is looking at it could cross-reference and say, oh, it says she has X in this bank account. Oh, here's the statement that says she has X. Not because what happens is when people don't have the data, they put numbers in based on what they remember or what they think, and then you get the affidavit. You're like, this has no bearing on reality at all, right? And you want that affidavit to be as accurate as possible, number one, because you can't make good decisions, financial decisions, if the financial data that you're basing it on is wrong. And number two, you got to sign that sucker that says it's the true to the best of your knowledge, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So you don't have to get crazy about making it accurate to the last penny, but you want it to be right for sure.
Okay. Okay. So, you know, that's what I keep doing. I keep jumping ahead, because I thought that I understood the paralegal to say that those financial affidavits need to be similar. Like when he fills his out, he'll be required to fill it out. And is we need to be close to mine?
In a perfect world, they would be similar because they both got the same data. You would be amazed at how much, how many times you get the two affidavits and you go, were these people living in the same place? They're nowhere near, you can't control whatever he's going to put on his financial affidavit. That is not your job. All
Okay.
you can control is your side of the street. Do your financial affidavit to the best of your ability. Make sure you get his financial information so you've got that backup data to show, and that's as much as you can do.
Okay. Okay, because he'll be taking his financial affidavit to his attorney if and when he gets one. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. You need to decide, like, if you've got all the data, do you need for him to fill it out? I mean, the lawyer is going to say yes, right? Theoretically, he's got to fill out the information. But if he keeps delaying and putting it off and putting it off, at some point, do you say, you know what? I know what we have. It's good enough. I don't care what he does. Let's just get it done. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So the last thing, and I'll leave you with this, is to start now and get yourself ahead of the game. Think about, where do I want to be when this is over? What financial situation do I want to be in? What's my end goal? Because if you can start, as Stephen Covey, who is unfortunately no relationship to me, as he would say, if you start with the end in mind, now you've got a direction to go. But if you're just trying to get through the divorce and you're going all over the place, you end up wherever you end up, which might not be where you really want to go. So think about now, where do you want to be when this is over? And for you, that question's going to be mostly financially. And also, we didn't touch on this, but the emotionally and the relationship wise, because he's still the father of your children. So you've got to deal with that. But financially, where do you want to be? And, what can you do to get yourself there? Step number one is getting this financial affidavit done as accurately as you can with as much backup documentation as you've got. Make sense?
Thank you. Yeah. It's yeah.
Big deep breaths, big deep breaths. And then once you've got a handle on this, it'll be time for your next step, and maybe we'll talk again.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you
Awesome.
so much. Much appreciated.
You're welcome. If you enjoyed today's episode, if you'd like to see more live divorce coaching, do me a big favor. Give this episode a thumbs up and drop the word "more" in the comments below. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show and apply to get your own free live divorce coaching, just go to KarenCovey.com/free coaching to apply. That's KarenCovey.com/free coaching, all one word, and apply now.